Can't think of anybody better to lead in our guest speaker of today. Guys, if you don't know who Lynn is yet, it's only because you've been hiding under a rock. I'm telling you. Lynn is one of my most favorite people in Enagic, in the world, actually. Me and my wife absolutely love Lynn. We've been out to the farm event. If you don't know what that is, you'll learn a little bit about that today. Lynn is a grandmother, a mother. She is a woman of God, first of all. She's a businesswoman. She's been so many things. Auctioneer, and you'll know that, by the way, when she gets going here, because that auctioneer part of her is still in there. She gets down to business, but let me tell you, she's the most loving, kind woman, one of the most loving, kind women that I know. I can't just wait anymore, guys. Miss Lynn Gardner. Good morning, Miss Lynn. How are you this morning?
Oh, good morning, Wade. Well, besides blushing right now, I'm doing very well. It's so good to hear your voice, and thank you for that beautiful introduction. You're such a treasure in my life, you and Gina, and I can't wait to see you guys again. And, Michael, thank you for the reading this morning, but I got a little message for Sam. I know you're listening out there, or you're listening to the replay, and so I just want you to know that we continue to lift you up in prayer, as much and with as much passion and compassion as we did when we first heard about this journey. And it's not an easy journey, but God is using you every step of the way. So you truly are a difference maker, Sam. We love you and we miss you. Here we are, folks. Wow, we're in the second month of the year. Only 10 more months to go. We talked about that last month, about you shouldn't be looking at how many more months is this. You got a lifetime to accomplish what you want. You only got 10 more months to go. And I trust that you're getting with it and not wasting even one day of the journey for 2020. A lot has happened since we last gathered, as you can imagine. A full month goes by. Boy, my life is crazy. There's always something to share with you, We've dodged some damage, thank God, here at the farm. We've had lots of days of high winds. In fact, one day with a high wind, it took the birdhouse. It's 24 feet in the air, took the roof right off of it. It's like the flying nun, just plopped it down in a field, about 30 feet away. It's pretty amazing. High winds. We've had lots of rain and flooding and a tornado that hit not too far away. But you know what? There's a hedge of protection all around the farm, and I'm so grateful for that, for sure. I've launched another Living Larger course since we last gathered, and I'm expanding what I'm taking out to the world. Living Larger, by the way, to me is being healthy, wealthy, and wise in every area of life, from your journey of faith to your relationships with your family, your loved ones, to your business, and in every way from physical health to a balanced life, even to finances, as I encourage others these days to be more focused on getting out of debt than building wealth for now, right? We closed a season of political upheaval, thank God, at least for the time being, and we said so long to an NBA champion, Kobe Bryant. Whether or not you follow basketball, there's no denying Kobe Bryant's accomplishment. You talk about a champion, a superstar in that world, He's known for an 81-point game, can you even imagine, among a lot of other games, of course. In fact, he scored 60 points in his very last game. Kobe Bryant made the leap directly from high school to the NBA. And he had a 20-year career with the Lakers, and that established him as one of basketball's all-time greats. He left the courts in 2016 to spend time with his family, and Kobe Bryant was only 41 years old when he died. No doubt, Kobe left a legacy within the NBA that will never die. It'll live forever. Within no time at all, fans flocked to the stadium to hold a vigil in his honor, in honor of his, and with his family, right, bearing gifts of no use to the dead. Do you know that when a potential aircraft crash is on the horizon, it looks imminent, the air traffic controllers, the pilots, the co-pilots, the flight crew, they all go from counting heads in first class, business class, and coach to referring to how many souls are on board. So Kobe was only one of 9 souls on board the plane crash on January 28th. There were children, there were mothers and fathers and friends, champions in the eyes of their families. 8 other souls left behind a void in the hearts of their loved ones, their own legacy that will never die. But all the other passengers' lives and legacies were outshadowed by that superstar, as if Kobe Bryant was more of a significant loss to the world than everybody else on board. And you know what? That's the way many of us look at our lives and our businesses. We tend to semi-worship superstars, and we overlook the other average souls, if you will, with potential and promise of their own. We would all be served well if we referred to everyone we meet, every potential client, every new recruit, everybody as a soul count instead of a head count or hope for the next superstar. No offense, but we see a whole lot of that in our business. When people flock to the superstars, following every move they make, admire them and their victory and their wealth from afar. And all the while, we tend to overlook those souls we encounter every day, that seem to never do a whole lot, right? Maybe they aren't making any effort in your eyes toward the business, so they fall off your radar screen. But that soul is just as worthy as the superstar soul is. You've got a plane full of souls, and each one serves a purpose. I believe that what changes the dialogue from passengers, to souls is stemmed from compassion. Compassion for the ones who will most likely not survive a plane crash. Funny how death can change the perception, isn't it? But you know what? Life is like a plane crash. From the moment we're born, we begin to descend. From the moment we're born, we begin to die. And it just takes some of us a little longer than others, and some of us, we feel, leave prematurely. And yet we spend our time doing head counts and checking account reviews, and we overlook the souls. But you know what? You may not realize this, but in the world of entrepreneurs, the single most impactful characteristic anyone can have is compassion. It's not skills. It's not the ability to go on stage or master a presentation. It's not the art of outselling the rest of the world, but compassion. Do you know why? Because it's compassion in and out of the workplace that kicks people into action. Compassion is a whole lot more than just feeling sorry for somebody, and lifting up a prayer, as people like to say. It's deeper than saying, I'll pray for you. It's deeper than a prayer. It's more than just being sad when you hear of someone's circumstances. When Jesus was out teaching the multitudes, we have two accounts of that. He was teaching 4,000, teaching 5,000, and we don't really know how many people there were because the count is just for men. Women and children weren't counted. But just imagine this, that they are out in the desert. They followed him into the desert. They stayed with him for 3 days. They had no food. They were following a superstar. And you know what? As he looked out there, he was moved with compassion. And that word for compassion, by the way, guys, isn't just sympathy. He felt sorry for him, so he did this or he did that. None of that. That word compassion, the roots from a word that means he was in physical agony. He felt their pain. And every time Jesus took action, from healing the sick to feeding the multitudes to raising the dead and everything in between, compassion is what propelled him into action. Not the chance to be a superstar or to be rich and famous. It's that compassion that inspires action that will propel each one of us ahead in our lives and in our business beyond our wildest imagination. Compassion fuels the action. You know what? We've all seen it. Tragedy strikes, and most people will sit back and watch it play out, from a flood to a fire to a car accident, you name it. Most people won't get involved. They won't be moved with compassion to take any action at all. I remember years ago, one of the most frightening things I've ever witnessed on the road was I was traveling to my office. It was rush hour, crazy traffic, and I was on a road that 2 lanes on each side, a divided road, if you will, and a pretty wide median strip. And I was approaching a traffic light, just crawling along, and something caught my eye 4 lanes over, on the side of the road on the other opposite direction. And I could tell that there was a man beating a woman in a car. He was on the passenger side, a door's wide open. He is punching this woman like there's no tomorrow. I immediately pull over, get off the road, and I immediately call the police. And as I sat there, it seemed like forever. I mean, if I could see this woman being beaten from 4 lanes away, all those people passing by, slowing down to get a good look and keep on going, right? They lacked the compassion. And I stayed there until a police car came. That was the only person that showed up to help that woman was the police officer from my call 4 lanes away. A lot of people, they won't get involved, will they? They don't want to get their hands dirty. They simply lack compassion. That's what keeps people going. The action component is what separates compassion from empathy or sympathy or pity or concern or tenderness or any of those other synonyms for compassion. Compassion gets involved. When others keep their distance from those who are suffering, it's compassion that will get us to act on their behalf. I read a quote once that went something like this, is that compassion is sometimes the fatal capacity for feeling what it is like to live inside somebody else's skin. It's the knowledge that there can never really be any peace or joy for me until there is peace and joy finally for you too. What a great quote. That each one of us has had a unique journey in life. And I'm guessing that everybody on this phone call has had tremendous trials. Those trials, guys, they weren't punishment. They weren't an accident. You weren't overlooked by a mighty God. Your trials are your trials, and they were sent to you for a purpose, to grow you, to refine you, and in many ways to break your heart so that you'll be filled with compassion for others who walk the same journey. We kick into action when we find compassion. In our business, some of you know what it's like to suffer physically. You had a turnaround in your health, and you are filled with compassion to help others because of it, at least for those with the same challenges that you have, right? Some of you know what it is to suffer financially, and you are filled with compassion to help other people find their way. Some of you know what it is to suffer spiritually, emotionally, or to lack that peace of mind, if you will, and you're filled with compassion to help other people find their way to peace. Your suffering was for a purpose, to break your heart, to soften your heart, to grow you, for you to know what pain is like so that you can extend compassion and so that you can take action in those areas of life. Not just say, wow, shoot, man, I'm glad I got through that. That wasn't easy. That's not the purpose. Just surviving a storm doesn't mean a whole lot. It's what you thrive and what you do after the storm that matters. What purpose would it serve to say, wow, I'm glad I got through that? When I consider that story of Jesus and all those people following him into the desert without food for 3 days, I always think how easy it would be for any one of us to say, well, that wasn't too smart. You should have thought about that. You're getting what you deserve. That's poor planning and everything in between, right? Instead, he was moved with compassion and took action. But how many of you meet someone not taking the steps to be healthy, not stopping those harmful things, the acidic waters, the drinking Cokes, the eating junk, whatever that is, right? How many of you have moved with compassion for them? There you are, standing on a mountain, teaching the multitudes about what's healthy and what's not healthy, and they don't do what you say they should do. Are you moved with compassion for them, or do you just kind of shrug your shoulders and say, well, they're pretty stupid, and keep moving on? To you, they are just another reckless, clueless person, or do they make it to the soul count because the plane's crashing fast? Compassion is what will propel you into action for those folks that you think have no hope because they won't listen to you. You won't have action that way until you find your compassion. As surely as the passengers became souls at that critical moment in time, you won't grow in your business until it goes from your head to your heart. A good sign of, from your control panel is when you criticize the people that won't listen. It doesn't mean they're hopeless. It doesn't mean that you should give up on them, but you criticize them. Your control panel has a little warning light, and you start criticizing, say, next, I got to go find somebody to listen to me. It's still in your head if you pass judgment on them, not seeing what, for them not seeing what you see. It's still in your head. If you have no pain that, wow, I wish they could see. I can't tell you, guys, there are several areas of my life where compassion it just overflows, right? And lost people is a big one. Man, when they won't listen to me, when they don't see the truth, when I can't reach that heart, I weep. I remember, I can pick on this, and my dear friend out there, Lisa Allagood and Ricky, I love you dearly for tuning in. But I remember when they experienced the loss in that flood, right? I wept and prayed for them. I could feel the pain and agony in their hearts. I haven't been through a flood, but I have been through circumstances where all my treasures were gone just overnight, right? And I could just feel their pain. I wept for them. That's what it looks like to find the compassion, right? So as surely as you have it in your head, it needs to go to your heart. You cannot get there without it. It's still in your head. You won't be moving forward the way you're hoping to. When it's in your heart, you love them. When it's in your heart, you want to fill those needs. If it's any way possible, you're going to fill the need. And you never stop praying and hoping for change. There are plenty of Bible references out there that'll show you, what it looks like, for compassion to kick into action. I'm going to share just two of them with you here this morning. We find one in Luke 10 where, a scholar asked Jesus, how can I be sure of eternity, right? It was a basic, I'm paraphrasing, that was the basic question. And in reply to that, man said, how can I have an eternal life? And Jesus said, a man was going from Jerusalem to Jericho when he was attacked by robbers. They stripped him of his clothes, beat him, and went away, leaving him half dead. A priest happened to be going down the same road, and when he saw the man, he passed by on the other side. So, too, a Levite, when he came to the place and saw him, he passed by on the other side. But a Samaritan, as he traveled, came where the man was, and when he saw him, he took pity on him. And that's the same word scripturally that for that compassion. And he was moved for him. He went to him, and he bandaged his wounds, pouring oil and wine. And then he put the man on his own donkey, brought him to an inn, and took care of him. And the next day, he took out 2 denarii and gave them to the innkeeper. And he said, look after him, and when I return, I will reimburse you for any extra expense you may have had. Guys, this does not remind you of sitting on the side of the road watching a woman getting beaten, 4 lanes of traffic, and nobody stopping to help? Listen, it's got to get compassion kicks you into action, and that's what we see here. And basically, he's saying, in response to somebody saying, how can I have eternal life? Jesus is saying, this is what you need to be thinking. This is what your heart needs to look like. We need to have that compassion. In 2 John, we read, if anyone has material possessions and sees a brother or sister in need but has no pity on him, again, pity is that same word for compassion. Unless you're in physical agony for them, how can the love of God be in that person? Dear children, do not let us love with words or speech, but with actions and truth. Oh, there's plenty of more where that came from, guys. And this isn't just about a sermon for you this morning, but I want to encourage you to read every single one of those as you can in your own time. Compassion is more than just feeling sorry for someone. We serve a company with compassion and a mission statement, spreading true health with compassion, right? So we've got to get to the root of that compassion so we'll propel into high gear. Compassion is more than just feeling sorry. Compassion propels you into action instead. I don't know Mr. O personally, and most of you don't either. I see him from afar. I hear what he says translated. I've read his book. I think I know who he is, right? But I don't know him personally. But he began this 3-fold mission, spreading true health globally with compassion. But I got a feeling that what propelled him into his action that we all benefit from was compassion that stems from his own plane wreck with sewing. At a time when he couldn't even afford to buy a cup of coffee, I've got the feeling that triggered his point. So that's his trigger point. Yours might just be the health part. You're stuck there just in health, and you're really not focusing on finances or peace of mind or spiritual things or whatever. I got a feeling that's his trigger point because that's the pain and agony God saw him through. Any pain can be transformed into success if we understand that it's compassion that causes us to want to fill that need. It propels us into action. Nothing else, guys. It's not a checklist. It's not something as simple saying, first I do this, then I do that. It's very good to have those systems, if you will, but it's the compassion that's going to fly your plane. It's great to hear how many units you sold. I celebrate with you. It's wonderful to see you rank up. I see all of this, drive toward the global convention in September, all these places people want to go, and you can go if you put forth the effort. I want the very best for you. I want you to outrank Romy and Cynthia one day. But be sure you don't fall into that Kobe Bryant story where stardom outshines the soul. Everybody matters. Everybody has potential. No encounter is by accident. Everybody has the potential to be a superstar, and everyone is a soul. If you find your way to compassion, you know what? You'll gain that traction you've been looking for. Right now it's in your head. Making your checklist and going through the steps. It hasn't gone to your heart yet. When you find your compassion, you'll gain traction. If you find your way to compassion, you'll meet the ones that you need to grow you, right? I encourage you to focus on your own trigger point, that experience that you've been through, that trial, if you will, that grew that broke that heart, that prepared you to have that kind of compassion. Find your compassion. And I encourage you to stop counting heads and stop focusing on bank account balances and focus on the number of souls on board your plane, each one of equal value, each one with equal potential. So wanted, dead, or alive. And that's it for me, Wade.
Wow. Excellent. This is always so good. Compassion. What a great what a great subject to grab this morning. And how sad is it that a woman getting beaten like that, and only one woman stops.
Right.
Difference makers don't be drive-bys, right?
Right.
That's man, what an incredible story. All the stuff you brought us this morning. The soul count, that's, and that's absolutely true. That's exactly what they do, right? Boom, they start running through and go, what's the count? How many souls do we have on board? Because that's all that matters at that point.
Right, right.
So,
it is all that matters, and, it's on a different level, of course. We do see that in our business. I've been guilty of it. You've probably been guilty of it, where you kind of judge people's actions. Okay, I told you, I taught you, you're not listening, you're not doing, you're not following, or whatever it is, and kind of dismiss it, right? Kind of say, well, when they want to, when they feel like it, I don't have time to slow down for this one. But good grief, guys, it's just like they're within their lives, the things that we don't see that could very much well be like that woman getting beaten on the side of the road. And you're not slowing down enough to see what's their trigger point. What has happened in their life that can propel them with compassion to make a difference in the world? That's the way it works. God uses pain, okay? That's the way it works. And so we do that in our business all the time. We overlook those people. We focus on the superstars, and we say, had a bunch of groupies that show up at my meeting. They never do anything. They never take any action. All they got to do is do what I tell them to do, and they could do something. But they aren't where you are, guys. And so you've got to look at them the same way as Jesus did with the multitude. Okay, yeah, they should have brought food. They should have been prepared. They shouldn't have stayed 3 days in the desert with me if they didn't have any food, right? You got to quit, look at it the way he did and just have compassion on them. When you love people, you can love them into action. That's what we see, and we talk about it often with Tamia. Again, Tamia, she shows up at a meeting and people singing songs and everything else. But what did she need? She needed that love. If you looked at the surface of Tamia's life at the time, believe me, they weren't seeing a superstar. They were seeing a woman who needed to feel important, to feel like she belonged, to feel love that she never felt. So imagine if you treated Tamia like that. Well, she's probably not going to do anything. She's probably not going to do anything. Imagine that. So everybody has potential. And a lot of us do, unfortunately, live our lives like that, where we just kind of blow off the lady getting beaten on the side of the road and keep moving because, man, we got goals. We got places to go, things to do. But we can't be slowed down. But your plane is full of fools.
This is so good because it's the soul that matters. None of the rest does.
Right.
And
that's right.
That's so good.
Well, I'm sure you and Gina, excuse me for interrupting you, Wade. I'm sure you and Gina, you've mentioned that, like with your water store, a lot of that's ministry. You aren't standing there, 6 days a week just trying to hustle people to buy an ionizer. You're in there getting to know them, getting to know the pain in their life, not letting them drive by and watch the woman get beaten. And it's because of that, you know what? You have a thriving business. People don't understand. They think, well, this compassion thing, that's too girly for me. That doesn't fit into business. That's the core of business as an entrepreneur. It's the compassion is where you're going to find your traction. That's where it's going to be found.
That's absolutely true. Anybody that's ever been in my store, let me tell you, I love my people with all my heart. Mm-hmm. We laugh with them, we cry with them, and guys, we've suffered everything with them, no matter from a grandchild loss to a marriage to a graduation to a and when we sell a machine, you're so right. It's like, hey guys, listen, you don't get it just go away. we enter a new realm when they join this side of the family. It's a different marriage at that point, and they become different. It's we have dinner parties, and we have meetings that are just dedicated to machine owners and those things. But but we move even further. It's how do you clean it? How do you maintain it? How do you make sure you can get your stuff ordered? And then we let the business builders pop up from that. We let them sprout. But honestly, that's so good, Lynn. That's so good. It's the soul that we care about. And
Right.
in the end, that's all that Jesus cares about is the soul.
It's true. And again, it pains me to see people get it so wrong. I mean, I'm sure there are probably people on this call, maybe some that hung up, that just don't understand that that's the core of it. When you focus less on the head count and what's in it for me, just like a plane, okay, who paid first class, who paid business class, quit focusing on that and start focusing on how many souls have you been given to work with. And I'm not talking just preaching at them all day, guys. I'm talking about compassion. Just care about them, right? Because that's what's going to drive you into action. But we miss it. We get stuck with the dot your I's, cross your T's, do this, go here, be that, and we're losing sight of the compassion that actually flies that plane. And it pains me to see so many people they really do want bigger things in their lives. They want to recover financially. They want to change lives. They want to do the things that they hear about doing, but they're still stuck, dotting their I's, crossing their T's. Compassion isn't working. You think, did Jesus stand out there and ponder, well, wait a minute, what are we going to do? Well, what can we feed 5,000 people plus their wives and their children? He just did it. And that's what you do too. Quit overthinking it and just have compassion to fill the needs. And when you do that, it'll be payday in every way.
Man, that is so good. It's Sam told a story, and I forget now who it was, where he said, "Just do it." When it was, just do it. He said, they'd throw another excuse. He said, "Just do it." That's I love it. That's man. Right. What a great subject. What a great life lesson this morning is. All right, difference makers, listen. If you guys have a comment, question, concern, I want you to hit star 2, raise your hand, and then I want to dig in a little bit deeper to what Miss Lynn's got going on. And when's our next farm event? Man, we're looking forward to that already and all that good stuff. But let's go to Miss Debbie Loveless. Good morning, Miss Debbie. How are you?
Good morning, difference makers, Wade and Lynn. Well, such a powerful topic of compassion. I would love for you to share with us. We often look at a lot of folks in our business think of this as a mission field, and we certainly know Mr. O's passion for mission to make a difference around the world globally. How do you help folks who are in the mindset, well, I've got to make the sale, I've got to make the money, I've got to live? And I know you've talked about that from your own experience. How do you combine those two?
Well, I think it goes down to getting down to the basics again. Guys, it's as long as you're out there on that hamster wheel just running like a crazy person, I need to make a sale, need to make a sale, need to make a sale. You can't build. That's what I'm trying to say. So it's like the polar opposite of what your mind thinks, right? So with those people, I would get right down to to the basics of what does it really look like to have a business? What is the core of an addict? And the core of an addict, guys, is compassion. And so a lot of people say, oh, I feel so bad. This person has answered, oh, I feel so sorry for this person. They've got eczema. Well, I feel so sorry for this person. Well, sorry and compassion are two different things, right? And so when you have compassion, it doesn't really matter what the need is. You want to satisfy the need, right? And so Jesus probably could have gone forever without a morsel of food. God would have sustained him, but he saw the needs of the people and found them. So you've just got to get back down to the basics. And honestly, it's painful to watch the people out there. How many drops are you going to drop without really having compassion? How many people are you going to chase down to make a sale without really having compassion? How many people are you going to strong arm into going into debt they can't really afford to go into just to make that sale? How many people are you going to hustle like that? So really, gets down to the basics of who we are. And a big red flag for out there, Debbie, is when we have a owner, a founder, a leader that says, stop trying to sell water ionizers. How many times do we need to hear that? And yet that's what we do. And so it's getting down to the basics. Excuse me?
So often that is the case.
Yes, it is. Yes, it is.
I heard a quote from pretty fantastic man that had great vision like Mr. O, and he said, if you have dollar signs in one eye, you're half blinded. If you have dollar signs in both eyes, you're completely without vision.
It is so true. But, there's a saying in sales where it's something like, the worst salesperson is a broke salesperson. Because a broke salesperson, if they think they're broke, which is what happens, and a lot of people need to sell that device right, when they think they're broke, their judgment's off. They won't necessarily do the right thing because they're thinking broke. But when your heart's desire is to work hard, this is not a fluffy business, okay? You can't just sit back and wish for it. When you're willing to roll up your sleeves and work hard and do what you do, but you do it with the right purpose in mind, the money comes. A good example of that, by the way, is back in real estate. I'm sure I've mentioned this to you before. There's a book out there, Million Dollar Real Estate Agent or something like that. It was written several years ago by Keller Williams. And the agents in there that interviewed were the nation's top producing agents. Well, I was a real estate auctioneer. I really didn't focus on the real estate side as much as the process side. And I remember when I read that book, I just kind of laughed because every one of those top producers, I was already doing what they did. You know what that was? I didn't think about the money. Until it closed, it never entered my mind. I knew this is good. I need to do a good job. I need to do an honorable job. I need to make it happen. But I didn't sit there and say, oh, wow, I'm going to make $25,000. No, it's ones that focus on the money that never really get there. Now, these top producing agents, I have no idea where their faith is, right? But each one of them said it's the same thing. I don't think about the money. I think about being the best I can be and doing the best job I can do. And when you do that, the money's going to come. But people think the opposite, right? They think I got to hustle this, do this, check that, be there, and they're losing sight of the magnitude, if you will, of their potential and the money, frankly, because all they're thinking about is money.
Man, that's so good. Excellent, Debbie.
Thank you, Lynn.
Yeah.
You're welcome.
Man, that is so good. Well, listen, Lynn, what else is going on out there? Okay, you just started a new course, you said, right? Your new Living Larger course. How do they find out? How do difference makers find out a little bit more about that? And you are a tremendous author, guys. I mean, if you haven't read her books yet, guys, again, here we go. We need to get into that. If you want to make changes, the kind of changes that it takes to be successful, not only in business but in life, I'm telling you honestly, Miss Lynn brings so much to the table for us. So give us a little bit of information, Lynn. How can we find out what's going on in your Living Larger, and then how can we get your books?
Okay, thanks, Wade. Here you go, making me uncomfortable. Well, you can find out about the course. First of all, guys, the course is, it's funny that people say, what is Living Larger? Well, I don't know. Why, you imagine, if I could say, what would your life be like if you could live a larger than life, what would it encompass? And so Living Larger is really about, getting to the root of life and business. I've kind of combined that old Dale Carnegie training, the how to win friends and influence people, and put it into a course that encompasses every area of your life and then gets into teaching you how to brand yourself and how to do social media. So it's not just fluffy stuff. So you can find out by going to livinglarger.life. If you want more information or a testimony, I'm sure there's some people out there that can get their 2 cents. I mean, so far, people are growing, and I'm loving it. They're growing in every area of life, learning how to influence, brand. And, again, that kind of hits on what we're talking about this morning where, people don't ever buy ionizers. They buy you, and so it's so important to put out there what you want them, who are you and what you stand for. Once you do that and you do like Wade was talking with he and Gina, just loving on them and finding out about their lives and asking the right questions, it all comes together. So that's what Living Larger is, livinglarger.life. You see that I've rolled out a couple of things here recently on how to plan a business. That was probably one of the biggest or most viewed videos that I put out there. It's pretty incredible how people don't know how to plan a business, to sit down and say, these are the efforts, and taking it all the way down to every action item that you have, not just make calls, go on this, but it's really everything that you do has a value and how you can build your business. I've heard from people from many different industries that, that view the video that just thought, wow, I never realized that before. So God has really blessed me to put that out there. And I'm talking a lot these days. One of my pressure points is finances. You guys have heard me say a million times, that my biggest financial goal is pay the farm off. I mean, I want to owe no man nothing ever, okay? That's my pressure point. And why? Because my life got annihilated. So to me, it's like all the debt's gone except the farm. It needs to be gone. And so I'm trying to talk to, people about that kind of thing, how really the way you'll build your wealth, first get rid of the debt. My goodness. You get the monkey off your back, and then you can start building wealth from there. So I'm having a ball doing that. Still haven't gotten the last book out. It's out being edited, actually, which is How to Reinvent Yourself Over 50. And that's another pressure point for me because I had owned my AARP card for a while when I completely transitioned my business from the real estate auction business to here I am today. And so I'm definitely living that larger life, Wade. And to me, it's healthy, wealthy, and wise. And, healthy, of course, all of you on the phone would immediately think physical things. I think physical things, but there's a whole lot more that goes with being healthy, having a healthy relationship with God, with your loved ones, having healthy relationships with your friends, a healthy lifestyle in every sense of the word. And then wealthy, of course. Hey, if you ask me, when I was broke as a skunk, I was rich. I mean, I knew I had eternity in my back pocket. I knew I had a family that loved me, and lots and lots and lots of blessings there. So wealthy isn't just a bank account, although obviously we help people there. And wise, guys, that's one promise. There's lots of promises God makes, but He says, if any man lacks wisdom, let him ask, and I'll give it abundantly without judgment. And I've seen that miraculous kind of wisdom in my life. First and foremost, over my family, not having any, background or any gauge of how do I raise a family, and God gave me a miraculous ability to raise a wonderful, godly generation. And then I see it in my business. So if you haven't prayed like that, for your business, my goodness, you need to pray, that you're going to have wisdom to know what to do, to know what to say. And not only will you have it abundantly, but you won't be so stressed anymore. So that's really what, Living Larger is all about. We're already, I met with Terry Coral this last week, and he's the event coordinator for the Living Waters Farm event that comes up October 9th, 10th, and 11th. We struggle with that. I actually asked the group last year, hey, with Global being just probably 3.5 weeks before our event, should we even do the event here in October? And I got to tell you, it's two separate things, guys. You won't be tossed and turning about which one should I go to. There's two completely different things. You need to go to both, actually. But, after we heard some testimonials of lives changed, and, it's just amazing what's happening here. So you bring your business to the farm, and we talk business, and we talk victory, and talk a whole lot of God and faith, and people leave here stronger than when they arrived. And so that's October 9th, 10th, and 11th, and I hope you'll all join us there. So the books, Wade, oh, my goodness, Amazon, you go to Amazon, just put my name in, Lynn Gardner, and then the easiest thing is to put a title to the book. There are lots of Lynn Gardners out there. Lynn Gardner, and maybe put Walking on Water. That's easier for you to remember, and you'll see the books that are out there. The other one will be uploaded very, very shortly. But that's what God has for me. I'm filled with compassion, overflowing compassion for you guys, to do my part to serve with joy. And you know what? When you get it all right, guys, and you quit focusing on the things that you think you need, like the bigger bank account stuff, when you get it all right, it all just flows.
Man, that is so good. Listen, guys, if you need to know the titles of books, okay, so there's Toilets, Taps, and Trash, okay, if you want to go looking up books. I love that. A closer look at the journey of your water. I love that. And then Walking on Water, a story of faith, love, and business. And then, guys, 12 steps for climbing out of the dark place. Overcoming one step at a time. And so you can look up any one of those titles, and then Lynn's books will come up. Guys, they are, some of the best money you could spend, absolutely. And Lynn, I know that there are a few Lynn Gardners on there, but you're the only one, girl. I can tell you that.
Sweet talker. Well, I'm the only one of you, right? That's awesome. Yeah, hey guys, the last one he mentioned, 12 steps to climbing out of the dark place. Well, that was a pressure point. Again, you got to use your pressure points, right? So that was I went through that dark place. I'm sure I was clinically depressed and I put on my lipstick and kept smiling. Nobody told me I was, right? But I'm sure I was. But, maybe you've never struggled with that. So you don't have compassion for that. And I think one of the reasons I went through that fire is because I used to judge that fire. I used to say, grow up, suck it up. What are you pouting about? And there's no excuse for depression. I judged depression, and so then I had to go through it, right? But even if you haven't, guys, somebody in your life has. And I'm not trying to sell books, okay? But it is a great opener for you to be able to speak to someone struggles with that kind of thing. Just show some compassion and show them that you care and that you understand. Don't judge it until you've been there, right? And so I don't know why it's on my heart to share this morning, except that I know a lot of people struggle with that. And it hits the ego. I mean, strong people don't get depressed, right? That's what we tell ourselves. But I'm one strong woman, I'll tell you, and it hit me. So if it hit me, it can hit anybody. And so keep your radar up there. When you're compassionate, you'll be able to tell when people have just lost a little bit of joy, and sometimes they lose too much of it, and it's too late. So that might be a good tool for you to put into their hands and let them know you care.
Awesome. That is so good. We got another hand raised up. Let's go to Miss Juliet. Good morning, Juliet.
Good morning, everyone. Oh, my God. And so just to be quick, I know we're at the top of the hour, but Lynn, what you just said, I wasn't going to raise my hand, but what you just said, I'm there. I am here in that place of darkness because when he cured my heart of brokenness to love him, and he made me to love him. That's where I was, and so I was a cheerleader for souls, and that's where I came from, and that's where I was heading. And then now that he's opened this avenue with the business, trying to reconcile the business part of compassion, I find myself in that borderline, that edge of depression, and I didn't want to say the word because to God be the glory, and I was ashamed to say the word, but as you said it this morning, that's where I am, and I'm on that edge because I'm for the souls, but how do you reconcile the business part, the busyness of the business part with the souls, and not lose yourself in the focus of the business and lose the focus on it being souls. So I thank you and I praise God for you this morning, and the difference makers from Sam to Wade to everybody else on this call. I just thank you for freedom, just to say that and just to be there and to receive it and to move forward. And to thank God in advance for everything that he's going to do from this point on.
Well, absolutely. And I'm going to be definitely praying for you, my friend, and I'm here for you. And that is a big problem, when people struggle with that darkness. And let me tell you something, guys. There are plenty of people in the Bible, champions, who suffered with depression. I mean, they wanted to die, and that's where I was, right? Plenty of it. The saints are out there. They've gone before us to show us that it can hit anybody when we get discouraged, right? But the world doesn't take that very well. And it doesn't want to hear, I'm depressed. It thinks you're wussy, suck it up, just like I used to say, right? It doesn't understand that it's a very real thing. It's not a lifelong thing. It does not have to be your destiny. But understanding that and fighting back spiritually to the one who likes to make things look bad in our eyes, that's the key. But Juliet, it's the balance, honey, with the business. It's understanding, like the balance in my life is God's first, okay? And you know what? Boy, do I get judged in our business for that. People say I'm out having tea parties. I'm clueless. I don't work. I just preach. I hear it all the time. But God is always going to be first in my life. And because he's first, he's heard about it in every area of my life. So it filtered onto my children. It's God first, my family second. I did, thank you, Jesus, raise a godly generation because I spoke of him and I lived him. I showed them what it looks like, right? And then I do the same in my business. You just got to find that balance and understand that it all threads together. I can't just be out there just preaching, right? Wouldn't make a living, right? You've got to have the balance of all things, right? But I'll be praying for you, and this call was for you.
Oh yeah, they're all for me. They're always all for me. It's about me.
Well, God bless you. Apply it today. It's a God thing, and I just appreciate your sharing this morning, and I will be praying for you, sincerely praying for you.
Thank you.
Excellent. Awesome. Man, guys, okay, we've hit the top of the hour. Juliet, thank you so much for coming forward, honey, and I know that's not always easy, and we will continue to pray for you also, and we'll add you to the prayer list. And Lynn, thank you so much. Difference makers, as I said, man, this call is always one of those ones each and every month that changes something in me. And I hope that it's reached you too. Lynn, we love you. Can't wait to see you again, and looking forward to that. I'm going to open it up for difference makers to give you their love also, and then we'll see you all again tomorrow, guys. I'm going to open it up.
Thank you, guys. Thank you, Wayne.
Thank you.